good evening for the first part of the so-called box mod. The way that I'm going to do this, I've done a few of these a long time ago, and I've found rather than trying to record things live and mod as we go, it's far easier to actually break down, if you like, the mod in stages. So this morning I've done a complete box mod. I've taken a photograph of every single stage right the way through the way. This is the result. Which, as you can see, is doing very nicely, and it's going to be far easier to actually take it through step by step. I'm going to be doing a voiceover on each step of the way, so we can see how we're doing. Plus, you don't have to suffer the ugly mug very much, which will be nice for all of you, I'm sure. I do take things, if you like, step by step and back to basics. So if you are an experienced modder out there, apologies if I'm showing you how to suck eggs. But hopefully, you know, this is for, you know, for the new guys, the people that want to get into modding, and this is why we're here. I mean, I've been modding now for probably two and a half years, probably more than 2.5 years, and you know, you pick up a lot of things as you go along. A lot of the stuff that I do, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the way you have to do it. Treat it more as a guide, you know. But for me, it works, and hopefully, it will for you. What I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a couple of the tools of the trade that we'll need here. The first one that I use, people tend to go out and buy the, if you like, they call it a third hand. Have a rummage around the toolbox. If you've got one of these guys, an adjustable spanner type thing, whatever the technical term for it is, I really don't know. But I picked this up. It was in the toolbox, and one day I was struggling trying to hold something, so I stole one of my daughter's hairbands, stuck it around the end, and I've got a nice grippy vise. A little bit later on, I decided to shove a bit of solder down inside there, and that enabled me to be able to, when I'm gripping something here and I've got a wire in my hand and I want to use a soldering iron, I can just tin that over there and then go straight onto the connection. It's an extra hand. The next thing that I find very useful is an old atomizer. If you've got one lying around, you know, great. If you're going to solder an ATI connection on, screw that on there, stick it in the jaws, and when that's down on the tabletop, you haven't got to worry about holding it, falling over, burning your fingers, etc, etc. It gives you, you know, they're very stable. If you stick an elastic band in there, hairband, whatever, it's going to give it a good grip, and when that's on the table, it is as solid as hell. There's you know, no room for failure, as we say. So this is a very good, you can even pick these up in the power shop. So go along and get yourself one of those. Don't go and spend 4 or 5 quid on the second set of hands, as they call them. Other things you're going to need, obviously, are a pair of cutters. We're going to need, potentially, and this is where he cringes, because if Cat's watching this, I hope you haven't got one, a Stanley knife. And there's a very good reason for this. I use, it's a manly knife, a very solid one. It's a lockable blade. It's not gonna, you know, I can't hopefully do any damage to myself on this one. A while ago I did manage, while cutting out a box mod, managed to cut through the tendons on my hand and ended up with a whole year of hurt and sort of still having it. So on that note, please be careful as well. You know, tools can hurt Cat. Okay, not can hurt Cat, but obviously can hurt. But again, going on from there, the other thing we may use is a reamer, and obviously we're going to be using the soldering iron. What I would suggest, if you are a first-time modder, Ask around your friends, neighbours, you know, your brothers, sisters, whatever. I'm sure somebody's got one of these tucked away somewhere. You know, it's one of those things that most people have, or you'll know somebody that's got one. Don't rush out and buy one just for the purpose of making this mod. See if you can borrow one. It's much easier. So, from there, I think we should start a modding. So, I'm going to fade away now, hopefully gracefully, and we'll slip into the first set of pictures where I'll give you an overview of what we're going to do. So it's time to get modding. Let's have a look at what we're faced with. We have a battery box, switch, LED and a resistor. They are all the components we're going to need for this mod. First thing to try in any mod is to see if the battery fits first. If the battery fits, you're one of the lucky ones. You just need to follow the steps less the case modification. If your battery doesn't fit, then we need to follow all these steps right the way through to enable your battery to fit. Let me show you a side-by-side comparison of batteries just so you can gauge how they differ in size. So the first step we need to take with this modification, including those whose batteries fit, is remove the positive and negative from the end of the battery box. You can do this by just grabbing the spring and pulling up sharply. It should come out with ease. Failing that, you need to give it a little wiggle with the screwdriver and it should come out nicely. If we need to modify the battery box, one of the things we need to do is remove the cover that holds the on-off switch in place. To do this, you simply put a screwdriver under the switch holder, either side, give it a little wiggle and it should snap off. So once we've removed that cover, you'll see that the switch is now exposed. The next stage is to remove the positive terminal that the cable is connected to. I tend to use a pair of pliers, grip this tightly, give it a little wiggle side to side first to release the glue and then pull up sharply. It should come out and you should be able to feed the cable back through the hole in the box. The next stage is very easy. Feed the negative cable back through the box and the switch should slide over the two prongs, unless you've been unlucky enough to snap one of them. In which case, it doesn't really matter. We'll come to that later. Following on from there, you can see all the components laid side by side. If your battery doesn't fit, we now need to remove a certain number of tabs in the battery box that were holding in the components. There's one here, and one here. What I tend to do to remove these is either use a pair of side snips, snip them out, and then you can melt them down with a soldering iron, or if you're brave, the Stanley knife. Once they're removed, you should see the box look something like this. Now I'm sure this is where some of you are going to get excited because we need to measure up where the ATI connection's going. What I tend to do is place the ATI connection on the box where I want it to be and mark it at a central point so you know where to drill. The drill bits we're going to need for this are a 3mm, a 5mm and a 9mm. 3mm being for pilot holes and the LED, 5mm being for the switch, and the 9mm being for the atomizer connection. Okay, so we've now drilled the position for the atomizer, we've drilled the position for the LED and for the switch, all with the pilot 3mm drill bit. What we need to do now is expand on a couple of those holes. The 5mm drill bit is going to be used for the switch. The 9mm drill bit is going to be used to drill out the atomizer connection. Please be careful with this one because if you over sort of rev the drill, there is a chance that the top of the case might snap.
Okay, so now I've got our holes drilled, it's time to start piecing this thing back together. First of all, what we need to do is install the switch. We're going to need a little help here from something called super glue. What you need to do is insert the switch back over the two prongs where it came from. Once the switch is installed, you need to put a very small dab of super glue on each of the prongs that are still standing. Once the switch is installed, you can put the cover back over, hold in place until the glue has hardened, which is normally about 10 seconds, and if you've got some on your fingers, you are likely to get stuck to the box mod. Following on from there, we need to install the positive terminal. Now this is a bit more tricky. What you need to do here is put some super glue on the box itself, insert the switch, hold it in place, and then either put a dead 14500 or an old standard AA battery. What that will do is the tension on the spring will hold that in place until the glue sets.
So there we go, guys, that was the first instalment, and I do hope you find it useful. Obviously, it's going to take time to get the tools, the parts, everything together. I will hopefully at the end of this be putting together a part list so that you can go out and grab everything. But to be honest, if you go down to Maplins, that's probably going to be your easiest source. If you want to shop around, grab a box and have a touchy-feely of things, that's going to be the easiest way. Most of the stuff there, or all of the stuff, is available at Maplins. You can find it cheaper online, but it depends. Me personally, sometimes I like to be able to walk in a shop and pick something up, look at it, feel it, see if it's scratched, etc, etc. You don't have the beauty of that online. So, pop along, grab the bits. As I say, I'm going to pop up a part list of what's needed. There's not that many components to a box mod, to be honest. So I do hope that you enjoyed that. I do hope that we're going to continue this little venture. I'm just about to record part 2. So if you see the same shirt, I haven't had this on for a week. Okay, guys. So this is a box mod. It's still going. Well, fair enough, it's only been 20 minutes, but it's still going. That's all from me. I'm going to hand you back in the very capable hands of the Vapor Mists.